What's up, guys? Today we'll be talking about the Galaxy S20 in 2025 here. So this was highly requested. A lot of you guys wanted me to do an updated video on this. We looked at this not too long ago and it's a fantastic phone. I got it for $109. I did the unboxing of it. It was AT&T locked. It was probably the best deal for a phone like this. It's just excellent across the board for $109. That's why I said you can't go wrong with an old flagship. And you can actually get these brand new on like eBay for like $239 here, an unlocked version. And like I said, I wouldn't pay like a crazy amount of money for it because these are going super cheap. It's a very, very good phone. Yeah, like very good, 160. But yeah, I got pretty lucky with the $109, but it is locked to AT&T though. So hardware wise, again, pretty nice looking phone here for the most part. A lot of people either love or hate this design. Yeah, the design is a little bit boring for sure. It's just very plain looking device. But a lot of people like the S20 for the SD card support, guys. Really good SD card support, and you can expand your storage for very, very cheap. You also do not have a headphone jack on here. So this was when Samsung started taking stuff out, with the S10 series. That was, kind of the complete series with headphone jack, SD card support. But hardware wise, it's a very light phone. I wouldn't necessarily say this is a super small phone, but it's pretty comfortable even for me with like smaller hands. I can kind of like reach without too much trouble with this device. But overall, very, very nice feeling phone, very nice looking phone. Something that's very cool about this phone, especially for a base model phone, it's got a 1440p display. Why this is very cool, because with the base model Galaxy phones that we have now, they're actually 1080p displays. This is actually a full 1440p panel, and it looks really, really good, guys. Very, very sharp looking when you're watching content on here. Even if you're just playing games and stuff like that, the actual content and everything looks super, super crispy on this device. Now, the only issue with the display here is that you can only do the 120 hertz in 1080p. So most of you guys are going to be using 1080p anyway. So that's the only downside with the S20 series. You have this awkward kind of setting here. But 6.2 inches dynamic AMOLED display. We also do have HDR10 plus, 1200 nits brightness, and it is again 1440p. And we got Gorilla Glass 6, which it's pretty solid. My S20 Ultra has held up pretty nicely as far as like the glass and everything. It is a curved panel as well. Bezels are respectable on here. And I really don't have any issues with the display. It's got that classic, Samsung colors that we do not see anymore when it comes to like the S23. Well, not the S23, but more so the S24 series. We don't see like those really popping, vibrant colors. And yeah, that's something that I definitely like about these older phones here. But I mean, this is a beautiful display, guys. So performance is going to be the best thing about the S20 here, is that you can get excellent performance for very cheap. This phone got its last major OS update with Android 13, One UI 5. Snapdragon 865 is on here. Again, micro SD card support. We also do have 128 gigs of internal storage, 8 gigs of RAM. We can expand that storage if you are a gamer or if you just have a lot of content. And I would say that the gaming experience has been fantastic on the S20. The Snapdragon 865, one of my favorite chips. This and the 855, I would honestly say is better than the 8 Gen 1 and the AAA processor, purely because it doesn't heat up as much. So I would say that this phone really doesn't heat up as much as those phones when you're playing games for a long period of time. Again, those phones are not going to crash, but I noticed this one is just, it's just very consistent in terms of, not heating up. And also, if you go to our graphics here, you can see we're playing at 90 frames. So I think 90 frames for, an old phone like this is pretty good. So if you're trying to do a little bit of gaming, you're on a budget, I mean, you could do some, competitive gaming on here just fine, playing at 90 frames. And this goes for pretty much anything you throw at it. Call of Duty, it'll play emulators extremely well. So yeah, so I would say that, this is a pretty good device when it comes to gaming. Now also, as far as One UI 5 here, it really doesn't feel that different from, One UI 6. I think the biggest visual overhaul we're going to see is One UI 7. If virtually feels the same. Like I said, you got applications like Good Lock and stuff that you can still take advantage of, customize. You can put Chat GPT on here as well too. So there's nothing in here that you can't do. You can still play all your games, download content. So I wouldn't really worry about that as far as like security and all that, because as long as you keep your apps updated, I wouldn't worry about it. I've never been hacked on any of these older flagships. So that's just something to take into consideration. If you are curious about that, it's not an actual big deal like people make it seem. Check out these speakers on max volume. The speakers are not bad on the S20. Good amount of bass coming out of the speakers. The top speaker is pretty good as well too, guys. So overall the speakers are fine, and also the biometrics on here are solid too. The fingerprint scanner is very fast. It's the ultrasonic one. And like I said, you still have your Samsung desktop support, secure folders, all the features. So that's what I said. Software updates, One UI has not really changed that much as far as features and stuff like that. And like I said, very snappy when it comes to how smooth everything is still. Image quality on the S20 is still pretty good. Like I said, with any old flagships, it'll struggle a little bit in low light photography. But besides that, you guys can see the shots yourself. They still look pretty good, especially for the price that you're paying. It's a 12 megapixel standard with a 64 megapixel telephoto, and you do have all the way up to 30 times zoom on here. There's a 12 megapixel ultra wide 8K 24 video with a 10 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 60. I would say the only issue that I ran into was I thought the selfies, when it does like the skin tone thing, it kind of like lightens the skin too much, which you can fix in post editing. But again, that could be annoying, right? And I think that's pretty much it. Like I said, the low light is not that great on this phone. But besides that, anything in like good lighting, you'll get a really nice crispy shot, great dynamic range. The ultra wide is pretty consistent with the main lens as far as colors and quality. And then punching into 3 times, you can still get a really nice crispy shot as well with this phone. So I think the cameras look totally fine on the S20. Besides those things that I mentioned. So if you're really into cameras, I would say you could probably get a newer phone if you're really into cameras. But if you're somebody who just wants a good shot, you're outdoors, you just take a just a normal picture, and you're not really into photos like that, you could get away with this phone easily. I mean, the shots still look great on here. So I would say the cameras are pretty nice looking. If you are in daytime, I don't see anything wrong with these shots. So and that goes for video as well too. It does actually way better job at video than I thought when I had initially picked this phone up. So I think overall, the cameras are pretty decent. So let's talk about your battery life. Even if you put a new battery in the S20, you're looking at like 5 hours of screen on time, which is decent for this size phone. Now, if you want to get better battery life out of this phone, you could turn the 60 or the 120 hertz off, and you'll get much better battery life. So that's just up to you. So if you're going to be out doing something, taking a lot of photos, you're just going to be out away from a charger, turn it down to 60 hertz and you'll be perfectly fine. Now, if you're going to, like I said, use it for all day at 120 hertz, 5 hours of screen on time is what you can expect. If the battery is probably degraded a little bit, it just depends, then you're probably looking at like 4 hours of 4 hours 30 minutes of screen on time. Now this one does a pretty good job, and standby time is actually pretty good on the S20. Again, 4,000 milliamp hour battery, 25 watt charging, wireless and reverse wireless charging. And yeah, so I would say the battery life is decent. Yo, I cannot get this. Yeah, what in the world? Forget it. All right, so I think the S20 is a solid device, especially for you guys that are overseas. You get the SD card support, you get a beautiful 1440p display, which is pretty unique these days. And overall, it's solid. So what do you guys think of the S20 in 2025? This is a phone that you would consider buying. Be sure to let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.